واسمه محمد الله في كل الأمور أحمد مصليا على الرسول المنتقى وآله وصحبه ذوي التقى.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الدرس الثالث, Lesson 3. In this lesson, we'll be looking at the following points. Reading from the beginning, we have Baytun al-Baytu, a house, the house. Kitabun al-Kitabu, a book, the book. Qalamun al-Qalamu, a pen, the pen. Jamalun al-Jamalu, a camel, the camel. We've learnt previously that when a noun has a tanween, then it's a sign that the word is nakira, indefinite. If we take the word baytun, we know that it's nakira, indefinite, due to the tanween at the end of it. However, if we look at the word al-baytu, we notice two things. The first is that there is an alif lam, which means the. Al-baytu means the house, and linguistically this is ma'rifah, definite. The second thing we notice is that the tanween at the end of the word is lost. When alif lam is used with a noun, then only one harakah will be shown at the end. So you can never have al-baytun in the Arabic language. And this is also the same for the other words. Kitabun, a book. Al-kitabu, the book. The word al-kitabu is ma'rifah, and we can see this from the alif lam and the presence of only one harakah at the end of the word. And likewise for qalamun al-qalamu and jamalun al-jamalu. The second point is something called Hamztul-Wasl. This is an alif that will be pronounced differently depending on where it is in the sentence. If we take the word al-kitabu as an example, when we start on the Hamztul-Wasl, we pronounce the alif with a fatha. Al-kitabu. Al-kitabu. However, if it had been in the middle of a sentence or preceded by another word, then we wouldn't pronounce this alif. If I wanted to say in the book, the word for in is fi. I would say fil kitab. Fil kitab, not fi al kitab. An example from the Quran would be in Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Rabbil Alameen. In the last part of the ayah, Rabbil Alameen, we have two words, Rabb and Al-Alameen. But we don't say Rabbi Al-Alameen. Following the rule we just mentioned, here the Hamztul-Wasl in Al-Alameen won't be pronounced. We say Rabbil Alameen. At the beginning of the ayah, however, we would say Alhamdu. Alhamdu. The Hamztul-Wasl here will be pronounced as a fatha due to it being the beginning of our speech. Moving on to the third point, we have Al-qalamu maksurun. The word maksurun means broken, and it's an adjective. You'll notice that it ends with a tanween, two dhammas, and previously we mentioned that when something ends with a tanween, it is nakira. So when translated, we should say, for example, masjidun, a masjid. However, here with the word maksurun, we don't say a broken. And that's simply because the word maksur is an adjective describing the pen. So we say al-qalamu maksurun as the pen is broken. And the same for the following sentence. Al-babu maftuhun. Maftuhun means open, and it's an adjective describing al-bab, the door. Al-babu maftuhun, the door is open. Al-waladu jalisun, the boy is sitting. وَالْمُدَرِّسُ وَاقِفٌ, and the teacher is standing. Scrolling down to the last point, we have الْحُرُوفُ الْقَمَرِيَّةُ وَالْحُرُوفُ الشَّمْسِيَّةُ, which translates to the moon letters and the sun letters. If a moon letter comes after the lam in al, then the lam will be pronounced. Whereas if a sun letter comes after the lam in al, then the lam won't be pronounced. And there are 14 letters in each group. So if we take a look at some examples, we'll see that in the moon letters, the lam in alif lam will be pronounced. Like in al-ab, al-ab, al-bab, al-jannah, al-himar, al-khubz, al-ayn, and likewise for the remainder of the moon letters. However, with the sun letters, the lam is not pronounced, so we shouldn't say al-tajiru. Instead, what happens is the lam is not pronounced and the letter after the lam is given a shadda. So the correct way to say it is at-tajiru, at-tajiru. Notice how the shadda is given to the letter after the lam. It's not correct to simply skip the lam and say atajiru. We have to give a shadda on the letter after the lam. At-tajiru. Ath-thawbu. Not athawbu. Ath-thawbu. Ad-diku. Al-dhahabu. Al-rajulu. Az-zahratu. And so on and so forth for the remainder of the sun letters. The reason this happens is because the sun letters are pronounced by using the tip of the tongue to an extent, and so is the lam. So when we say al, we've started to use the tip of our tongue for the lam, al, and to go directly to a letter which also is pronounced by using the tip of the tongue is quite heavy in speech. If you try to say al-tajiru, or al-thawbu, or al-rajulu, you'll notice that it comes across quite unnatural. So instead, the lam is merged into the letter after it, and this gives it a shadda. So in this lesson we've covered adding al to a noun, which makes the word ma'rifah and results in it only ending in one harakah. We also looked at Hamztul-Wasl in the word al, and mentioned that at the beginning of speech, the alif will be pronounced with a fatha. However, in the middle of speech, then the alif is ignored and not pronounced. We also mentioned that adjectives like the word maksurun, which means broken, will not be translated as a broken. Rather, they are describing the noun before them. And lastly, we looked at the differences between al-huruf al-qamariyya wal-huruf al-shamsiyya, the sun and the moon letters.